Hi folks, today I'm going to show you another money saving tip on how to adjust your tracks on your Honda Snowblower or to replace the track in an emergency. I know most of you people take your machines to a shop to have serviced, but you never know, you're going to have an emergency in the middle of a snowstorm and you're going to want to replace the track or put it back on if it fell off or repair the free axle. I'm going to show you the different hydrostatic models is different. This is the older 80. It's a different adjustment, slightly different. And then I'm going to tell you about a really unknown problem with the 50s if you have a 50. So I'm going to tell you about that too. So first of all, you want to check your adjustment. This is a good maintenance point to do when you're servicing your machine. And it's very easy to tell. You have it on a level surface, push down in the middle. Look at this, it's got about a half an inch of play. That's pretty good. You don't want more than an inch. Most of the machines I work on about an inch or so or less. As long as the track's not coming off, you don't have to adjust. But if your track is too tight, that's almost as bad as if it's too loose. If it's too tight, the track can wear out a lot quicker. So you want a little bit of play here. You don't want it too tight and you don't want it too loose. And if you have one track that's too tight and the other track is too loose, the machine might track towards the tight side. I'm assuming that your skid shoes are properly adjusted and the machine seems to be pulling to the right. Check your track adjustment. Maybe this side is a lot tighter than the other, okay? So let me show you really quick on how to do your hydrostatic track adjustment. It's pretty easy. You put the machine up on the nose. I've got it supported by a 6x6 here. This doesn't have an engine on it, but with the engine on it, you want to shut off the gas, run the engine till it stalls out, and shut your valves by pulling on the recoil starter cord until you feel some resistance, okay? That way you won't hydrolock the engine. It's kind of common to do. It's pretty easy to take care of. So I'll talk about that some other time. Now, you've already checked your track adjustment. This one's really, really loose. In some cases, here's your free axle. In some cases, the stud may break. You see the stud here? It may break on you. If you got one side is really loose and the other side seems to be okay, I would check the stud. Usually underneath this cross plate here, the stud may be broken up underneath. You can take a clamp in an emergency and clamp the free axle to the top plate, clamp it until you have the time to fix it. We talked about that in a written article. It's a quick fix in an emergency, but if you have to you don't have to replace this axle if it breaks. I mean, this is $85, folks. There's no need to replace it. What I did on this one, I put a 4.5-inch carriage bolt in it. See, I locked it down with a nut, and then you got another nut for a lock nut, and then you got to adjust the nut on top with washers. Okay, so let me show you. It's pretty easy to do. You don't have to take the old one, the broken one out. See, it's welded. The head's welded on. And all you have to do is grind those welds. Just grind them off, and then I put it in a vise, and then I take a punch and I punch the old stud out. So you don't have to weld the new one if you don't want to. You can if you want to, but I just lock it down with a nut, see? And it's not going anywhere. Well, anyways, let me show you. These are your adjusted studs. You take your nuts off, okay? Well, you don't have to take them off. You just loosen them up most of the way, just like here. If they need to be adjusted, and then you have to loosen your lock nut. Now on this machine, the lock nut's 17 millimeters. Some machines is 15, sometimes some are 14, but this one's 17. And this is where you adjust your track. If you need to tighten the track, then you screw this lock nut in. Okay, and if you otherwise if you have to loosen it, then it goes the other way. So what I do is that I adjust both sides right, the exact same. Like when the bolts up here, make sure that it's equal in length, unless the studs are different size. Let me see if I can tighten this up with my old trusty Milwaukee here. All right, I'm going to tighten this track up. Well, I'm not going to do that right this moment. But when I tighten these up, you want the studs to be about the same length. And a better way to do it is check the distance between your top plate and the free axle pipe. Honda calls this the crawler pipe. I call it a free axle. If you got the same distance on each side, then you know that your tracks are both adjusted about the same. And you'll see if it's not right. You'll see, it might be a lot higher on one end compared to the other end. So and then you have to readjust it. Okay. So if you happen to break a track, which can happen, they get cracks in here. If the machine's left outside in the sun all summer long, every summer it's left outside in the sun, these rubber tracks will dry out and start cracking. And then once they start cracking, the cracks will grow and grow and grow, and you may break the track. So that's why I always recommend that you keep the machines covered in the summertime or in a shed or a garage. So if you have to replace the track, what you should do, instead of just loosening up, a lot of people will want to loosen these up and then wrestle with the track, trying to get the track off these wheels. And it's just a real pain, to do it this way. So, and put it back on, a new track on, or replace the track, and it's a lot of trouble. So what I do, see, you got a pin here and a cotter pin. So I remove the cotter pin, remove the pin, remove the washer. And you got another. You don't have to remove this one, not unless you're removing. If you have to repair your free axle because of the stud broke or something, then you have to remove both wheels. And then after that, you can pull out the crawler side. So now, with this done, you can just pull your track off. See how easy that is? And when you have to put the track on, you just thread the sprockets on the bottom of the track there and put it back on. It's that easy. If you have to remove your crawler pipe or your free axle, this has to be taken off. You have to remove this nut here. Sorry, folks. I'm trying to do this with one hand. You have to remove this bolt. You have to remove this wheel, and then you pull this side out. And once you pull that side out enough, then you can remove your crawler pipe for repair. It's not that difficult, actually. It's just a little bit time consuming. Um, Sometimes you have to take these wheels off too. You just pull the cotter pins. If the track is already loosened up, to the end here, then it comes right off. So that's basically how you do your hydrostatic models. Now on the older machines, it's slightly different. Like this is my 80, okay? Your 55, your 70, and your 80. It's got a little, it doesn't have a cross plate on mine. Your lock nut's underneath here. Can you see that? There's a lock nut. Here's your adjusting nut. So all you have to do is loosen this nut all the way as much as you need to, or to adjust it and uh, loosened up your lock nut. Now, in most cases, I've serviced hundreds of these machines. In most cases, the adjustment's right. You know, it's been adjusted properly before, and the lock nut is where it should be. So most cases, you don't have to do too much of adjusting. So this, but this is where, like, if you have to replace a track, you know, you have a reference point with this nut here. If you're replacing the track, or you have to repair the crawler pipe. On these older machines, the old machines, you got a castle nut. Okay, can you see this castle nut here? It's held in with a cotter pin that goes through the axle. Now on this machine, lefty is loosey, like most nuts. Excuse me. 99% of your nuts are lefty loosey, righty tighty, and you have to loosen this first on both sides before you can adjust your tracks. A lot of people don't know that. I've seen a lot of machines come into the shop here. This is all bent. This part is all bent down, or bent, you know, all bent because they tried to tighten it up, and the tracks are not being readjusted because they didn't know that they have to loosen this nut. After you've adjusted your tracks, then you can tighten your nut back up and put a new cotter pin in. I don't recommend using those cheapo Chinese cotter pins. They break easily. I only use American made cotter pins when I usually replace the cotter pin. You know, once you start twisting the cotter pin, it's going to break easier. So I just replace the cotter pin. Now, that's basically what you do on the 55, the 80, and the 70. Now on the 50, this tip I'm going to give you now for you 50 owners is worth the price of admission. Yeah, I'll give you double your money back if you don't profit by this tip. Now on the 50, you don't have a castle nut. You just have a bolt that goes in here. Now on the left side of the machine, now when I'm talking about left and right, you're always talking about the operator's side. See, I'm behind the machine where the operator stands. So this is the left side of the machine. This is the right side of the machine. It's good to know, okay? Because if you're ordering parts and you have to order a right auger or a left auger or something that's specific for left or right, this is how the manufacturer and all the shops reference the right and left. Now on the left side of the 50, there's a bolt that goes in here. And I've seen it happen many times. People will break the bolt trying to remove it because it's not lefty loosey. It's righty loosey. I mean, it took me a while to figure it out, but most people will try to loosen this on a 50, and it's really tightening it on the left side, not so on the right side, just the left side. And you know, Honda finally figured out this was a problem, and then they started using these castle nuts and locking them in with a cotter pin. But I've seen a lot of people break the bolt inside here. because they're trying to loosen it when they're actually tightening it. So that's a pretty nice tip to know if you have an old 50, okay, folks? So I just hope that helps you. This should help you save money if you have to replace a track or adjust a track. It's a pretty common issue with some people. Um, Last winter, I seen 3 or 4 of these broken. These studs were broken. After 20, 25 years, sometimes they'll break. And like I said before, you can use a clamp in an emergency and clamp it so that your track stays tight until you have the time to replace the stud. And like I already showed you, it's just time consuming. It's not too difficult. I think anybody can do it with a little bit of patience. Watching these videos step by step, and it's easier to learn from these videos than it is from written instructions or the manual. So I understand that people have confusion, trying to read step by step instructions. Okay, so thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. If you have any question, ask them in the comments. Make suggestions on future videos. And I really do appreciate everybody watching these and subscribing to this channel. Thank you very much and have a great Father's Day.